I wonder if I take you there. Would you believe in fairy tales? Oh.
好啊，关门大，我是开的，欢迎收看这期就能和今天的超自然调查。那么这期是杀手日志的第3期视频，就让他们没有继续调查那个农舍，而是转而来到一个闹鬼的酒店。那究竟怎么回事呢？废话不多说，我们现在开始。
So what kind of questions are you gonna ask?
Like, what questions do you usually ask? Like, how they died?
Part 3.
Here at home, police in Winnipeg may have stopped a serial killer. John Paul Ostermus has been charged with murder.
What? Are you next to me right now?
Are you mad at Jordan for what he had said?
Are you trying to hurt me right now?
Fuck.
She was only looking for a fling. This enraged Elvin.
不是真的有这么紧张吗？应该没有吧。
A journal is a person's completely unaltered voice. The pen with which he writes serves as a spiritual conduit into the deepest corners of his being. Every secret of a writer's soul, every experience of his life, every quality of his mind is written with wholehearted honesty within the pages of his journal. A killer who has remained nameless and faceless has been a legend passed down Winnipeg's homeless community for at least a century. The killer is said to be an affluent man who appears harmless and is even helpful at first. He usually offers a meal and a ride to those who walk the streets of Winnipeg. However, after they hop into this Good Samaritan's car, they're never seen again. During the 1920s, there was a large spike in missing homeless people in Winnipeg, which gave birth to the legend of this Good Samaritan killer. However, in those days, data wasn't easily as kept as it is today, and the Good Samaritan killer was never caught. Everyone who knew these missing homeless people from the street simply assumed that they had gone back to live with family or hopped a train to go somewhere else. After all, Winnipeg was and still is Canada's main railway hub, and anyone could get anywhere by train. What was simply an urban legend for nearly a century became a horrifying reality, and the dangerous life of the homeless had taken an even more fatal turn.
2014年。
Around the year 2014, homeless people began to go missing once again at an alarming rate. There were dark rumors circulating about the nameless, faceless Good Samaritan killer making his return. Our investigation into this legend and into one of Winnipeg's most notorious hauntings led us back to a journal that we found last year at an old farmhouse.
Oh my god!
In a way that we could have never imagined. Most of the disappearances of the homeless people of the 1920s were said to have happened all around the Marlborough Hotel. At the time, the Marlborough was a brand new upscale hotel in the heart of downtown
Marlborough
Winnipeg.
Hotel.
Originally named the Olympia Hotel, the harbinger of its long change of sordid, unfortunate events would happen 6 months after it opened when World War I hit. The hotel was forced to close due to the financial hardship that was brought on by the Great War. And during the war, it was commandeered by the Canadian Army to house the 184th Battalion before sending them off to England. It was reopened after the war and renamed the Marlborough, after Britain's first Duke of Marlborough. However, what began as a high-class luxury hotel began to fall into more and more disrepair over the years. Ownership of the hotel switched hands multiple times over the century. Each new owner unsuccessfully tried to restore the Marlborough Hotel to its former glory. Today, the Marlborough's classic Gothic beauty still remains, but its archaic architecture is heavily overshadowed by the crime, drugs,
也就是说，这个
and
酒店有近100
violence
年的历
that
史。
plagues the Marlborough Hotel to this day.
I'm Danielle, and I work as a outreach mentor for vulnerables in downtown Winnipeg. I work with
弱势群体外
vulnerables
展
who
导
are
师。
addicts, into drugs, gangs. We help them find jobs and apartments, just try to rehabilitate them into normal society. It can be quite dangerous. I worked in a house that before we took it and rented it and turned into like a safe house, it was a trap house. So I was actually there one of the very first nights, and somebody was trying to break in the back door with a crowbar.
What the fuck？ 这么危险？
How does your work affiliate with the Marlborough Hotel?
So with the people that we work with, they're drugs, booze, they don't ever hold jobs. So whenever they're in a place, they'll eventually get kicked out for various reasons, and we find them temporary placements, which is like the Marlborough Hotel and a few other ones in the city. So we'll house them there, and then we just check on them a couple times a week, make sure they have food and that they're not causing too much trouble. But I do have the one girl who disappeared from her room, and when we went into the room, she had rolled up towels by the windows and by all the doors. So it's like she disappeared from the room somehow, and nobody knows how she got out without having the towels moved. It was a little bit freaky.
The killer remained an urban legend for nearly a century until 2015, when John Paul Ostemus was arrested and charged with the serial killings of 3 homeless men.
Here at home, police in Winnipeg may have stopped a serial killer. John Paul Ostemus has been charged with murder connected to the deaths of 3 vulnerable men.
A self-proclaimed killing machine, John Paul Ostemus was a schizophrenic that spent much of his time on the streets himself.
I will walk all the time, but when there's a killer on the loose, you don't know who you're walking up behind.
It's going to bring people's awareness of how hard the streets are.
John had tried checking himself into treatment after he realized that his murderous thoughts were getting out of control, but tragically he was denied due to not having the correct papers with him. Not long after being denied is when John went on his rampage. In one instance, he stomped the head of a man sleeping in a bus shelter.
He's also charged with second-degree murder for killing Miles Monius in this bus shelter earlier this month.
And in another, his victim was found behind a dumpster in a pool of blood with a rope tied around his neck. All 3 of John's victims were found within the vicinity of the Marlborough Hotel. It took only 3 days after his final murder to be arrested after he was identified from security footage. John Paul Ostemus was found guilty on all 3 counts of murder and was sentenced to 75 years, which is the harshest sentence that anyone has received in Manitoba after the death penalty was abolished in 1976. Since John has been in prison, the age-old story of the homeless killer has faded back into legend.
所以 Marlborough Hotel 到底为什么闹鬼？
While doing extensive research on this urban legend, we began to develop a theory on who the original killer from the 1920s might be. A man who was from an affluent British family, who after returning from World War I, worked in downtown Winnipeg as a cab driver. He also lived only blocks away from the Marlborough Hotel. Because he lived so close to the hotel, he was known as a regular there, and eventually the hotel became one of the 2 places that he was convicted of killing. This man's name was Albert.
Albert 2月5号22年。
It's probably been a long time since somebody stayed in this room.
所以说这是个全新的故事啊。
Were you a victim?
The SLS screen just shifted over.
Really?
Yeah.
也就是说 Marlborough Hotel 这周边一直出现那种谋杀事
In here
件。
and in the area. Were you a victim?
随机谋杀事件应该是这样。他们现在手持的设备是 Connect。
Quarter? What does that say?
I'm not sure.
记得上
We know how dangerous this area is
上期也提到这个 quarter 这个词啊，1/4。
there's probably a million different things that could have happened to you,
不知道什么意思。
but it's up to you to be able to tell us what happened.
We believe that urban legend is true, that a lot of homeless people went missing in the area in the 1920s or so. Do you know the person's
Whoa.
name who is responsible?
Come here. There's something here.
看见什么东
It's
西了？
gone. It's so annoying that this thing won't record in here. We unfortunately ran into some technological issues during our stay at the Marlborough Hotel, and it's really sad because I would have loved to capture in a screen recording the entity that was peeking around the shower curtain, because I think both of us strongly believe that is the entity that destroyed our gear later on in the night. It was right here. It was like peeking outside of this curtain. It was right here, peeking outside of the curtain.
The camera focused on something on the tablet for a second.
Really?
Yeah.
There's somebody in here?
这是一种人体结构捕捉相机啊。我在这里。
That was weird. I don't know. Yeah, it did pick something up right peeking outside of that shower.
Who are we speaking with right now? Edith.
一个名字。
What was that noise?
I don't know. That's what it.
That was weird.
That's the noise I was talking to you about. I don't understand why it's doing that. And it's not when the battery's dead, because I know the sound of the battery's dead when the battery's dead.
Very strange.
Violence.
Violence?
又是暴力。
Okay, so are we speaking with somebody that might have? Oh, K2.
K2's.
Maybe it's going because it's too close, but
我一直以为 Obulus 跟
yes,
Springbok
it
是
would
同
have
一种
been
功
pretty
能，看来不
violent.
是啊。
There is a lot of violence around this area, and I think that whatever would have happened to you would have been very violent.
Again. What is that sound?
I don't know why it's doing that. See, K2's not going off now. So
There's so many words, like almost words. We're gonna have to go back and
evil.
Evil?
都是负能量的词汇啊。
Edith.
Edith 又是一个名字。
We're trying to contact Albert on a location where he didn't die, but Jordan has a theory, and it's something that he's mentioned in the past, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and it's that when you commit such a high energy crime, like, you know, stabbing somebody or strangling somebody, there's a lot of residual energy left behind, and we feel like maybe it's possible that we could conjure Albert to the Marlborough Hotel, being that he was a frequent visitor here, and especially being that his most famous crime happened inside the Marlborough Hotel.
我操，这也行吗？当然，这也是纠正猜想啊。如果说
We did hear about the homeless people that had gone missing a long time ago, but there's another lady we'd like to try and understand, and that would be Lottie Adams. If somebody's here, we know that, you know, Lottie wasn't killed here, but if somebody could give us some answers for her. I'm dead, sound like.
换句话说，做任何感情激烈的事情都会留下能量残余。
Do you know who Lottie Adams is?
If so, can you light this up in my hand?
应该是这样。
Touch that device over there. Oh, there it goes. It just spiked.
4级。
Thank you.
4级。
Is it a high?
Tape.
Tape? Tape?
Tape. Tape.
Tape, like to bind hands, maybe?
Maybe.
If your hands were taped when you were killed, Can you light this up again?
Watch it.
Watch it.
I'm watching. Oh my god.
Did it go?
It went.
Manifest.
It said
有这
what?
个显现的意思啊。
Manifest? Can you manifest right now?
It's at 7.
Can you manifest right now and show yourself?
Oh, what a bad stomachache. It just went again. Go ahead. Killed. Okay. Okay, there's
Lottie Adams was
every
killed.
single thing you're saying is that again?
And that's
is right on par with what we know. Can you tell us where? Oh my God! Can you tell us where Lottie was murdered? It said killed. Oh, now I got goosebumps.
是这个杀手吗？是这个连环杀手吗
Can you tell us where Lottie was murdered? We would love to know.
my hand's shaking.
Your hand is?
Yeah.
Can't believe it said watch and then it just went hang.
Hang?
Hang.
挂着，吊着。
Yeah, that was I heard it.
Are you freaking out?
A little bit. No.
You're not. I know you're not freaking out, but this is
应该是
very
help。
strange for us. If you understand that we can't see you. Can you show us?
Do you know who Albert is?
I
他
did.
知道
I did.
这里面有
You
很多
you
灵
knew
体。
Albert?
I'm like, no.
How did you know Albert?
That's getting the most clear responses I've ever heard.
Yeah, why did you kill Lottie?
Lottie Adams。
While we suspect Albert to be responsible for the disappearances of the homeless people during the 1920s, his first known killing was that of Lottie Adams on Valentine's Day, 1928.
老惨了，情人节。
Lottie Adams was a friend of Albert's wife, and she was married herself, so therefore she only remained close friends with Albert. But as their personal relationship grew, so did Albert's obsession with her. Still working as a cab driver during this time, Albert would often take Lottie on rides with him as he absolutely loved her company. However, as Albert would fall deeper and deeper into his obsession with his wife's best friend, Lottie would become more and more uncomfortable in his presence.
他不能越界。
What started out as simple flirting between friends became full-on advances in no time. Lottie told her husband that she thought that there was something off about Albert, but she was considerate of Albert's feelings and didn't want to break his heart, so she continued to see him, even though her gut feeling told her not to. Albert professed his love for Lottie one evening inside of his cab.
She was only looking for a fling.
And asked her to run away to Minneapolis with him to start a new life. She politely but firmly declined, saying that she could not leave her husband.
This enraged Albert.
Albert continued to call her in the weeks that followed, as the rejection fueled Albert's obsession with Lottie. On February 14th, 1928, Albert called Lottie one last time and begged her to hear him out. Lottie, not knowing what else to do, agreed to meet with him that night. Albert picked her up in his taxicab that evening and drove them to a secluded area in the city, where he once again asked her to run away with him to Minneapolis. Lottie once again refused, but this time, the rejection was more than Albert could take. And this time, his murderous tendencies rose up and were directed at her. Deciding that if he couldn't have her, nobody could, Albert drew a .38 revolver and shot at Lottie. However, Lottie fought back, and the shot went through the roof of the taxi. Continuing to fight for her life, Lottie struggled to get away. She bruised her knuckles, elbows, shins, and knees in the process. However, Albert was unfortunately able to get a clear shot and put a .38 caliber bullet through the left side of her head.
没了。
In what was most likely an act of pure rage and perhaps an attempt to disguise Lottie's identity, Albert then pulled out a hatchet and began to mutilate what was left of her face, striking her at least 28 times. When he was satisfied, Albert dumped Lottie's body in a ditch and covered her with snow. 2 weeks later, on February 28th, a man named William Watkins found Lottie's body while out for a walk and alerted police. Albert was, of course, immediately considered a suspect. Lottie's distraught husband told police of Albert's obsession with his wife, and that she had disappeared the same night that she had gone to meet with Albert. After further investigating, police found out that Albert's obsession with Lottie went deeper than anybody knew. They learned that Albert had been stalking Lottie throughout her daily life, and when they spoke to Albert's co-workers, they learned that Albert used to speak of Lottie as if she was already his girlfriend. Albert was arrested and charged with the murder of Lottie Adams and was held at the Vaughan Street Jail during the trial, where it only took 4 days to find him guilty. Albert was sentenced to be hanged at the gallows of Vaughan Street Jail on January 23, 1929. However, his execution was not to be. A petition to save him from his impending demise was circulated by the War Veterans of Manitoba, asking for clemency. Just 2 days before his scheduled execution, Albert's sentence was commuted to life in prison, which unbelievably, he only served 14 years of. Albert was paroled on June 3, 1943, on the belief that he had been successfully rehabilitated. However, it wouldn't be long until Albert fell back into his old habits and killed again.
我操！他才关了14年。太离谱了吧
Yeah, while we were setting up the Ouija board, getting it ready, we lost all power.
Just to that one outlet.
没电了吗？是酒店的问题吧
Batteries running low on that. Everything's dying. Yeah, this... You had this light on. Nothing.
光灯也没电了。
My phone is still charging on that outlet over there. Still have lights over here. By the entrance.
To this thing. Okay.
就你之前提到过，说可能是灵体让这个设备失效的。
It's interesting because the first thing we did when we got here is realize that none of these lights work in this hotel room.
这些灯本来是工作的吗？这也太奇怪了吧
There's bulbs. It's like nothing in this room just wants to work.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like maybe something's trying to get our attention away, like don't use the Ouija board.
Well, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yep.
那个摄像机自己动了一下，屏幕自己动了一下，不知道谁动的。
Okay, we'll set it up. That's weird.
可能是什么灵体不小心冲到屏幕了，可能。
Like why? Just
I've never seen it do that.
So the light stops working, or all the power in this same area stops working, and then the SLS just starts doing that.
Unreal.
It shuts off.
That's fucked up.
很奇怪啊。
Oh, I just made another noise. You know what's crazy? If the battery's dead, why would the power bank still have power to it?
Yeah.
And it's plugged in.
Yeah, because this should be powering the tablet
it is,
right now. Yeah.
It was charging it. And it still has power, that blue light.
我去。
So the battery can't be dying. But it's like, that has no power either. It's like the power bank doesn't work to power it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no power on this side of the building, or on this side of the room. Well, hopefully that makes for a good Ouija board session then. Or we should.
I think it will be.
虽然插了充电宝，但是没有办法给平板进行充电啊。
Albert, why did you kill Lottie?
不知道怎么回事，这也太巧了。
My left hand is tingling already.
Really?
Yeah, bad.
Is Albert here right now?
Oh, it just went once. Okay, Albert. Now it's time to, tell the truth. Why did you kill Lottie?
他意识的残留可能还在这里。
A little bit of movement.
You hear that?
Yep.
Came from behind my computer. Is this Albert we're talking to? Oh. Had you been killing homeless people before you killed Lottie?
I bet your mom hated you. That's why she sent you to Canada, right? Is that why you killed Lottie? And then you just hated
我操，他承认了。
Albert?
什么东西被拉了一下，外面。
I don't know.
我操！我操，怎么回事啊 ？Fuck!
Holy fuck! What the hell was that? The hell was that?
I don't know.
可能这个 Jordan 可能激怒了这个 Albert 啊，这个连环杀手。
Albert, are you in the bathroom?
What was that noise out here too? Holy!
Oh my god.
这什么东西啊？
Where was that? Was that on?
Shattered up here, right by where I saw that thing.
Is that where you
peeking
saw
out of-
it?
Yeah. I saw it on the SLS peeking around this corner, and it was sitting right here. Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me.
Dude, this thing is shattered.
I know.
Yeah, it was like up here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't just fall off.
No, it's a smack. And it was right when you heard that sound right here too.
我操！
Dude, this thing is shattered.
I know.
Yeah, it was like up here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't just fall off.
No, it's a smack.
怎么又有电了？
You heard that sound right here too.
电又突然好了，是吗？
Holy fuck! The lights are on! What the fuck?
Are you ready to talk now, Albert?
平板呢？
Oh, if that was on too. Oh, my hand's shaking.
Hold on.
Turn the obvious on.
这也太离谱了吧！
Scanning.
It's fucking shattered, man.
Albert, was that you that smashed the ball?
哦，原来是那是厕所里面的 motion ball 吗？
When the ball shattered inside the bathroom, the first
Oh,
thing that came to my
sick,
mind was back to the screen recording of the SLS, and it's just sad that we didn't capture that screen recording of the entity peeking around the shower curtain, because the motion ball was placed just above the toilet in the exact same spot, and we both believe that the entity that smashed the ball was the one we caught on the SLS peeking outside of the bathroom. Whoever this entity is seems dangerous and malevolent, and it's the exact reason why I recorded a video before we ended up going to the Marlboro that I felt sick to my stomach, and I told everybody around me before we got there that I thought something bad was going to happen, and this was just the beginning of what was going to happen.
要毁掉 motion ball 需要很大力气啊，这运气太牛逼了，作品肯定的，还有后续。 怪后门视频就这么结束了啊。看完这些视频，不禁让我有个猜想啊，是不是在一个人他情绪激动的时候，是会留下意识的残留的？那如果说是这样的话，那杀手日志的1、2期在发现那个日志之后出现闹鬼现象就说得通了。另外，对于最后灵体摔坏那个运动感应球，我也觉得非常离谱，因为摔坏那个东西是要耗费非常大的力气的，换做人也是一样。所以说这个灵体啊不简单。还是那句话，我希望你们把这当做微电影来看。那视频就到这边，我们下次再见，拜拜。